Everyone, welcome back to Student Pages Spotlight series. I'm your host Izzy, and today I'm joined by the incredibly talented producer Susan Gorrell. Thank you so much for joining us today, and how are you doing?
Oh, thank you. I'm doing great. I am really looking forward to doing this with you. So thank you for asking me.
Wonderful. No, I'm so glad you could join us. So I'll kick things off by saying you're the executive producer and executive director of the Julien Dubuque International Film Festival, also known as the JDIFF, one of the most respected filmmaker-focused events in North America. What an incredible thing to be a part of, so incredible. So what drew you to film production, and can you explain a little bit of the process that you use to create a visual story arc for your scripts and your projects?
Great question. My family are more in the music industry, so I've kind of been surrounded by entertainment. They're in the Christian music, and they had a recording and distribution company. So my love for the arts really comes from my mother and father. And then when I got married, my husband got into the industry. He did more special effects, so he does big pyrotechnics for like Transformers, Pirates of the Caribbeans, all the big film.
Wow.
And so I raised a kid. So it really wasn't until afterwards I'm like, I really do like film. I love telling stories. So I kind of, looked at projects or people that I knew were writing stuff and said, okay, I really like this story. And I would acquire material or projects. And then, you build a pitch deck and you hope to find some money and try to get those out there, in which, I was able to succeed in many of those things. But it was more, I love the indie market because, just I love working with indie filmmakers, or just a different, situation. Just always loved it. So I did some documentaries, short films, a couple features, worked on a TV pilot, and then other people that have seen me, have worked with me, have, then asked me to produce for their projects as well. So I'm on the smaller level. I don't really say much about it because I'm just on the smaller level, but I just enjoy it. And for me, it's fun. The festival probably is the biggest piece of my work.
And I'm sure that's so much fun to be a part of all that and be surrounded by so many like-minded people, whether it's the people that you're working with or your family, which is so incredible to come from such a creatively driven background. But could you tell us a little bit more about your background in that sense and how your involvement as a TV and film producer came about, like kind of how you made it into the industry?
Yeah, it's when I go from the festival, if I take that as kind of I did a documentary when my husband got nominated for or won a Primetime Emmy. Our name was kind of in the paper, and then the people noticed more, and so that's kind of how I really lucked in as far as in the producing.
Mm,
I'm really good with people, and I enjoy that part of putting the projects together, getting it started, getting the right crew, and then kind of troubleshooting when you're on set. That's kind of my producer role, and I
mm.
enjoy that. So it just kind of lucked in. I did like a documentary first, and then I had got hired to do produce a film, and then from that feature film, then just other little projects kind of came up. Some that I did on my own that like I mentioned, I found scripts I like. I paid a small fee for them, and then just use those to find crew and build, get some investment money to do the films. Sometimes I think if you can do a lot on your own, like especially with short films, it's a great way to have a little, not have to need as much money, but then start to show what you can do. And then people kind of talk. The festival, when I took that, was by chance. I had the documentary that the co-founders of the film festival saw me speaking at an event and asked if I would come into put my film in their festival. It was their first year. And I said, oh, sure, I'll go to this little film festival in Dubuque, because we go to a lot of other stuff through my husband. And I said, I'll go to that little festival. When we got there, I thought, gosh, Dubuque is really beautiful. It's a beautiful city. And I said, I can help you build your film festival. We know a lot of film people, and happy to invite them and create panels and get that going. And then the co-founders end up getting in a big old fight and end up not being there. And then all of a sudden, 3 years into it, I'm now in charge of the film festival, and this is my 12th year. So it was by chance. Wasn't on my bingo card to be a executive director of a film festival. It also enabled me to meet other filmmakers, and then I started collaborating with a lot of them myself with projects I had or was invited to do. That helped a lot. But my sole thing really is the film festival. I love seeing filmmakers come together and grow and start to collaborate as well. And I think that's super important. And film festivals can really create that. If it's a good festival, It can create an atmosphere where filmmakers come together and can and learn from each other and maybe leave as friends or collaborating. And that was really what I was hoping to do, and I think we've accomplished that pretty well.
Yeah, definitely. So being in the right place at the right time, and now here
It
you
really
are.
is. It really is. It's, people that go to college will probably hate me saying this, especially as a student thing, but the school isn't going to make you a filmmaker. It might
Mm,
teach you things, it might help you and make you a little more knowledgeable. But school's really good to meet other people
hmm
like-minded that want in the same industry as you so that you can lead together. Maybe you do collaborate. But
hmm
you also, it is that education is not necessarily going to get you jobs. You have to be hardworking. You have to really want it. You have to be your best marketer. You have to sell yourself. When my husband got in the industry, he knew nothing about film. And he started off parking cars at Disney and just put out there to productions that were happening in Florida at that time. Hey, I want to do film. I can do film. And lucked out that a producer hired him to sweep the warehouse. And he just worked. He was there day in, day out, early to late, really dedicate his time that they saw how hard he worked. And now he has his own big effects company. And so, you can do it, but you got to put a lot of work in to make it happen.
Awesome. I mean, such an inspiring story as well. I really love that. So, how do you collaborate with your director and your key creatives to achieve the desired visual style in your films that you produce?
That's a really good question because directors can, no offense to any of my friend directors, but they can be very bossy and they have a very specific. I think for me, and like it's different for everybody, but for me, when I have a project, I usually like to work with projects that I own and I have a visual, and I think it's really important to have a director that you can work with and has a good vision and understands. But I feel like when you hand your project off to that director, it becomes the director's vision. It's just my job to make sure that he's not going way off track or completely opposite of what the writer and what myself felt that the story should be. And so you make those very clear lines at the very beginning that I don't, this is how I want it, this is how I like to see it, but I want you to have the creative ability to do what you need to do. And so that's super important. And then I think I really haven't had a bad time with it. I have had a director that I worked with once that he was he definitely wanted it was his, but it was also his project. He was also executive
Mm,
director, producer. So at that point, then you're kind of like, okay, here's my thoughts. Here's why I don't think it's working. But in the end, it's up to you. So because you're the one putting the money in. But if you're a producer that's representing several money people on a project, then you're representing all of them. So you have to make sure that
mm.
kind of what you collectively had liked about the project, the director follows that along, but still is creative.
Well, I'm sure that can be a really like intense field at times then, because if everyone's so passionate about the same project and everyone's trying to get their ideas in, I can imagine it gets quite intense at times.
Yes, yeah, it does. And I think for me, I'm not a combative type person. I think when you look at it as I don't have to win the argument, and I think that's with anything in life. You don't have to be a winner. There's not a winner. So how do
Mhm.
you talk together and go, okay, I like that idea, but would you mind if we also do this idea? And
Mhm.
try to work together. And that's really hard to keep your tempers down and just I always have a rule that if I feel I'm getting a little upset, to take a count of 10 before I actually blurt out something I'm going to regret. Or email. If you email something, you're like, and you're pounding it in, don't send it. Wait, wait an hour or two, and then go back and read and go, okay, I probably shouldn't say that, and then fix it.
Yeah, that's advice that everyone should probably take in every walk of life, to be honest.
It is, because sometimes we're impulsive. We just,
Mm.
well, I want this, and you want to win that argument, and
Mhm.
not everybody, you just can't win. There never really is a
Mm.
winner. Then everybody's just angry, and I don't hold grudges. So maybe you do have an argument, and it's like, okay, say what we had to do and move on, but you can't hold grudges either. I mean, I don't know. It's just how people have to look at others and how you react to things.
Definitely. So, can you describe your approach to bringing out authenticity or authentic performances through your writing and through your projects that you work on? How do you approach that?
I think that, I don't think there's ever a perfect, you're talking about for in regards to casting in that sense. If you're doing a casting process, One thing I will say, like with independent films, I see it all the time that gets submitted to me. If you don't take the time to really, audition, you don't have to pay for expensive actors. There's amazing talent out there, but take the time to really find that person that fits that character. And maybe they didn't visually look the way you thought, that you visually thought of. But when they
Mm,
came out and they acted, sometimes you have to be a little changing too and go, okay, wait a
mhm,
minute, you're not what I thought. I wanted a brunette, not a blonde, but by golly, you nailed that personality. You nailed that acting. Acting is so important because sometimes you get indie films where one or two actors bad can ruin the entire film. It can take a person out of the process and be like, oh, okay, they're just out of the story. And so, you got to make sure you take the time to really get in the best actors. And again, it's not about money, it's about the talent. And then you can work with them. And sometimes you can work as much as you want. If somebody doesn't have the talent, they can't pull it across. So you have to do your best to find the talent at the beginning, and then you have something to work with.
definitely. And I'm sure that in itself, there's so many elements to all of this that is probably very like nitpicky at times. You really have to like know what you want and have that vision. So I'm sure that process is also as stressful as any other might is very exciting in a way as well.
And it is, and then sometimes it's hard because the director might want somebody totally different than you are, that you wanted. And really, the director, should have that ability because he's going to work the closest with the
Hmm.
cast. I don't work as much with the cast other than if there's problems on the set or just, hey, is everything going good? How, that sort of stuff is what I do for them. But the director, he's going to have that vision too. So you just kind of want to make sure you're looking at it together and then hearing your director out as to what he really feels this person is really why he wants this one and feel that out. And not most of the time the director win, but not all the time. Sometimes you're like, no, I really want this. I think this is it. But see, I don't, if I do that and then I'm wrong, I don't want the director to say to me, well, that was your choice. So I'm like, now I can go, well, that was yours.
So, in all of this, as we've kind of briefly touched on already, there's so many elements that really have to be so precise. What have you found as a film producer to be your personal most difficult piece to coordinate within your projects?
Yeah, I would say at the end is in the post. When you get to post, when you're trying to court, production isn't so bad. The beginning, I'm used to now. That's the part I like, finding the project, going out and hopefully finding this. First of all, money is always the hardest to find. That is the
Hmm.
hardest piece to get money for your project. If you're able to do that, then pulling the pieces together, the crew, finding the right director, finding the right pieces, that isn't so bad because there's an open pool. I find post gets a bit confusing because it's the editor and then you got the sound guy and then you got the color and you have all these other little pieces. It's like a whole other section and
Mm.
it's slower process. So at the beginning, you're seeing production, you're seeing something happen. At post, you're not for months. You're like waiting. And so it's the hardest piece for me is post, but and finding money, but that's pretty much with everybody.
And so, what is a production that you would most like to work on next in your line of projects? What is something that you'd be eager to try out?
Yeah, I have a couple films. I'm personally like family type films. Films, always think about Spielberg when he was younger, all those movies he used to do, and Indiana Jones. They're just something the whole family adventure you love to do. I love those type of projects. I have a couple that I have that hopefully one day they'll be able to happen. I don't know. I mean, I love sci-fi, which is interesting. I don't like horror. So if I'm trying to go out of my comfort zone, thriller horror is not my thing, but I would even get scared during filming, but it just freaks me out. But yeah, I don't know, I don't really just jump into something. I kind of take my time. I have to really think about it. I really went out of my comfort zone last summer because I did a documentary that the director and he was also executive producer wanted me to be in it. So it's more of a follow. We traveled across the U.S. in a camper RV, and he wanted me to go with, and it was really hard because I don't like being in front of the camera. Even doing these are very difficult. They make you fatter, and I don't want to get fatter. I'm trying to get thinner. And so, but he really really wanted me to do this documentary with them and be in it. And it was a really hard thing for me because I
Mm.
just do not like being in front of the camera.
No, I think that is when you're so used to being behind the camera and working on the all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes. I can imagine that is such a difficult position to have to now be like, I'm in front of the camera. So yeah, that's I'm sure that is such a memorable moment for you, which kind of leads me on nicely to my next question. What in your entire career has been your most memorable moment?
Oh, my most memorable. Well, I'm going to bring up this documentary that we just did because even though it was very hard, because when you talk about working with direct, the dynamics,
Mhm.
the documentary was not really political, but we went across the US and we talked to people from different political sides. So we thought, well, that was going to be hard to do. That wasn't hard to do. The director, and he'll be the first to say he was hard. And we internally all were arguing, you're stuck in a camper going for 8 days.
Hmm.
But so as hard as that, or no, it was 14 days. The hardest part of that whole piece was arguing with him. But the best part of it was my grandson Peyton. I'm gonna age myself. My grandson Peyton, who's 17, he got to work as the crew in it, and my brother actually drove. It was his RV, and he drove that. But my father is dying from terminal cancer. And when we were young, we used to camp all the time. We were big RV people. This director, he'd never been in an RV in his life. That was a mistake. But the first part of the trip, my dad got to be part of it with us. He hadn't been in RVs, very difficult for him to really get anywhere. And he got to be part of it in the first few days. And so that probably was my most memorable and something that I tell the director, even though you and I and he's, were arguing and things were happening, you created something that you gave me the ability and my brother to enjoy this with our father, in these last year that he has. So that was really probably the most memorable thing I've got to do, and I will have it on camera forever. So that was wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so sorry to hear that, but that is such a beautiful thing, as you've said. Like, there might have been some tensions, but at least you
Yeah.
got to experience that. And then having your grandson have the opportunity to work on the set, I'm sure
Yeah.
that just feels so special. So that's really
Yeah. He
lovely.
loved it. He'll
I
never
can
do it
imagine.
again, but he loved it.
Well, he got to dip his feet in, he got to try
Yeah, he's like,
it.
I will not do this again, Grandma. I'm like, I know. It was a rough shoot, but hey, we got through it. You can look back and now we can laugh at the things that happened. And again, you don't carry grudges. I mean, I'm still friends
Mm.
with the director. We've been friends before, and you just move on from it. You can't hate people or be angry for your whole your life. So
Definitely, and that's such a beautiful story as well. So thank you for sharing that with us.
yeah.
So, what were your main inspirations that you drew from when producing for your projects and your film and TV shows? What is kind of the thing that you try and focus on and center your values around?
I do like adventure. I do like characters that you're drawn to. I love comedy. So I like smart comedy, if that makes sense. That you have a drama,
Hmm.
but you have a lot of fun bits and pieces in there that make you laugh and make you feel good. I love that kind of stuff. I did a movie, The Reunion, or not The Reunion, well, I did that one as well, but SuperCon. And it had like great stellar cast. John Malkovich, Clancy, Brian Quentin. It had a great cast, but my mother, it's one thing she counted, had a lot of F words in it. So she now counts. So that's like the big thing that I cannot have that many F words in a film. It has to be purely none. So while she's alive, she still counts. Every time if I do a film and there's F words, she's counting. So I just need to do one that doesn't have any F words so that when my mom does pass too, I can say, I didn't have any in this one, Mom. So that is probably my big goal.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. She's Irish. My mother's Irish. So
Yeah.
yep, she's from Northern Ireland. So yeah, she counted. I counted 62 F words in that film. Like, oh, okay, Mom. Do you remember that movie you did that one time? I'm like, oh, I know, super con.
She
Yeah,
must
it's
be sat
awesome.
there. She must be sat there for ages counting on all of the
She
fingers.
did. She had a tally. She was telling. I'm like, are you kidding me? So that is my goal. I have to have one that doesn't have any of that. Yeah, not even one. And it became like even my grandson said jokes about it, and it's like the marker. she'll say, well, that one it had 20, but not as much as SuperCon. I'm like, okay. So that's my
Oh,
mom.
that is hilarious.
Yep, my Irish mom.
Oh, that's so funny. That's really got me.
Well, you know what's even bad is my brother uses the F word like a Russian racehorse. So I'm like, I don't even do that. But so she sometimes gives him a hard time too. But
Yeah. So it
yeah,
deflects off you a little bit sometimes then.
exactly. I'm like, have you counted how many came out of Philip's mouth lately?
Oh dear.
But
So when choosing the crew for your production, what is the most ideal quality that you look for in your performers? Is it someone that doesn't swear much?
yeah, yeah, good luck with that one. Um, well, obviously, I have to hire one very specific special effects guy because that's my husband. If I didn't do that, that would have a war in the house. Um, I think, we use a lot of people that we've worked with or we know before, have, hard workers. Filming in the film industry is not easy. It's a long, long hours, a lot of work. I believe also, though, in making it fun, as well while you're there and respecting everybody, because it doesn't matter what level crew you are, you're all working together to make this the best film possible. And I think that's super important. And even
Mm,
your background actors, all of them, it's just, but yeah, I think that we just kind of, a lot of it's people that we've known, we've worked for before. I do like introducing new directors. So, I mean, you got people that have directed for a while, but I think it's exciting when you can have a director that's just maybe up and coming because,
mm,
they need that break. They need that break as well. And sometimes if creatively they're on the right path and you've seen maybe a few of their work and they did a really good job, you just pair them up with a really good AD, or a really good cinematographer so that it can offset, maybe their inexperience. But I think that's super important too, giving people an opportunity to really shine. Short films are really good for that. You can check people out and use a short film, but features, or docs, great opportunity. And I think it's just good to let new people try as well.
yeah, definitely. And I think also the element of you kind of working with people that you've worked with before, it kind of goes off what you said earlier about school can teach you so much, but knowing the
Mm.
people that you know, you can then continue to work on these projects with each other. And I think that's a really great thing as well.
Yeah, because in school, you're filming stuff in school. So, you're gonna know that group. You're gonna know I really liked working with him. We really worked well. So if one of you go off and hit it in the big time or something, you're gonna remember that person. At least I always did. I always remember people that treated me well 4 or 5 years ago. And like, you know what? I remember that person did a really good job and I really liked them. So you always try to do that. So always put your best foot forward and personalities. I mean, I don't like grumpy people.
Mm.
No grumpy people on my set. Only my husband. That's the only one who's grumpy. But everybody else is be nice. But no, I mean it's important this. It is stressful, but I think you need to make it a relaxed environment as well. Not that you're not working as hard. It just you need to enjoy going every day and doing what you're doing.
Mm. And so my final question for you, we've already kind of touched on because you've already given us some absolutely astounding advice. But to any young people watching who are trying to make it into this industry, again, we've kind of already been over this one, but do you have any other advice for them that might help them get into film production or just the film industry in general?
I think going to film festivals is a really good idea. That's a great way to meet people. It's so important. You have to sell yourself. You're your best marketer. So, really go with a smile, get your business cards, be ready, and go and meet people and just look enthusiastic, be excited about it. And, that's a first big step forward. And know your other students, your other fellow students in your class, do outside projects together, do, short films. Create short films are just a great way. You're not going to make money off a short film, although there are other streaming things now, but you can get experience in and work with other people and show your work, how well you do. And it's just great for you too. Keeps you learning more. And definitely be more vocal, meet people, talk, go to festivals, meet other filmmakers, be willing to collaborate. be willing to work free on your friend's project. Nobody likes to work free, but again, it's experience. You're helping out, you're learning. That's all that process. One day you will get paid for your great work.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Susan. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you today. You've given us some great advice that I'm sure a lot of people are going to take away. And thank you to everyone else for tuning in. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I'll catch you all next time.